So good day, dear colleagues. We believe we can start. So first of all, we would like to express our deepest gratitude to the Secretariat for organizing these webinars, for the time and cooperation. Now allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Artur Yashin. I work as an expert in the Federal Service for Supervision of Natural Resources. This organization is the Basel Convention Competent Authority and is responsible for receiving the notifications of transboundary movement of hazardous wastes and other wastes, and also is responsible for responding to such a notification in accordance with the national legislation of the Russian Federation and international agreements, of course, including the Basel Convention. Well, the main aim of our presentation today is to provide a rationale and to give more information on our revised proposal to amend paragraph 2 of Article 6 of the Basel Convention. So, but before we move on to the main part of the presentation, we would like to give a brief overview of the Basel Convention itself, which entered into force in 1992. And almost all UN member states are parties to the convention. As you can see, its overarching aim, like in any other environmental agreement, is to protect human health and the environment against the adverse effects of hazardous waste. The Basel Convention regulates the export and import of hazardous waste and waste containing hazardous chemicals. And compliance of the Basel Convention's provisions is crucial when it comes to the transboundary movement of waste. At the same time, it is extremely important that the mechanisms established under the convention work properly and effectively. However, today we notice that many parties to the convention face obstacles when implementing the core mechanism of the convention. The prior informed consent procedure, or simply put, PIC procedure, which is also described as the heart of the Basel Convention control system. So let's take a closer look at how it relates to the transboundary movement of waste. Here you can see that transboundary movements of hazardous waste are based on 4 key stages. Notification, consent and issuance of movement document, then transboundary movement itself, and confirmation of waste disposal. Here it is necessary to take into account that the fact that the PIC procedure, which is set out in the Article 6 of the Basel Convention, requires written consent from the state of import before an export of waste may take place. This is the basis of the first stage of transboundary movements, which relates to the PIC procedure. When a state of export shall notify a state of import in writing of any proposed transboundary movement of wastes. According to the second stage, which also relates to the PIC procedure, a state of import, upon receipt of a notification document, considers it and responds to a state of export. The state of import may consent to the movement with or without conditions, deny permission for the movement, or request additional information. For now, there is no established time period within which a state of import shall respond to the notifier in writing. And in this case, each party makes a decision taking into account the technical concerns and national circumstances, of course. Well, as for stage number 3 and stage number 4, they take place only when a state of export receives a written consent from a state of import on the proposed transboundary movement of waste. The third stage refers to transboundary movement of waste, as I have already mentioned, and the stage number 4 is the confirmation of waste disposal. And here we made the second stage in orange not by chance, because its key problem is that the Basel Convention sets no time periods for making decisions by states of import. And this exactly causes uncertainty and can slow down the transboundary movement of waste. Now let's pay more attention to this problem. Here we describe the key problem of the second stage of transboundary movement. And as we have already mentioned, it is about the absence of time periods in which states of import should respond. Well, many parties to the Basel Convention have numerously pointed out that in some cases, states of export have not received responses from states of import for several years. Sometimes there have been no responses at all. And all this was declared during the parallel processes under the Basel Convention dedicated to the challenges in the implementation of the peak procedure. The Russian Federation in its practice has also faced the lack of responses from states of import, and in such cases, parties are not allowed to ship waste without receiving written consent, according to the Article 6 of the Basel Convention. And at the moment, our proposal is aimed at resolving this issue. But of course, we realize that, that besides the time periods, there are technical difficulties that need to be resolved by parties when making decisions on transboundary movement. This question, as well as other key problems, challenges in the implementation of the peak procedure are under thoroughly discussion in small intersessional working group on peak procedure under the Basel Convention. And still, during this parallel process, a higher priority is given to the challenge connected with the lack of time periods for responding to notification documents. And here the question should be asked, what does the current situation when we have no time periods and as a consequences, states of export do not receive responses from states of import lead to? And this challenge lead to environmental and economic groups of risks, but first of all, we suggest to deal with the environmental ones, as transboundary movement of waste is an environmental process. So due to delays in responses, states of export do not have a clear understanding when they will have a possibility to ship waste. And since that state of exports store waste that is ready for shipment until the state of import gives its consent. And as a consequence, physical and chemical properties of waste and its hazard class could be changed, especially if it comes to reactive waste. And this increases the risks of negative impact on the environment and also jeopardize the fulfillment of states' obligation to protect human health and the environment. Also, the problem of illegal export of waste cannot be ignored. It takes place especially when there is no responses from states of import for a long time, and when there is no sufficient capacity within the state to dispose of wastes in a sound manner. Well, in general, island states are more exposed to negative environmental risks as they may not have the facilities to dispose certain types of waste. And that in turn leads to negative consequences for the environment of these states. Now let us turn to the next group of risks, to the economic risks, which can be reduced to two main issues. Well, the first issue is the increase in the financial burden. When wastes are exported, importer and exporter should conclude relevant contracts. And therefore, in this case, we have increased risk of failure to fulfill the contractual obligations. This also leads to the expiration of insurance for transboundary movements of wastes. In this case, stakeholders have to incur additional costs, for example, for insurance extension or for resending the notification. And this also includes the problem of long-term storage of wastes that are subject to transboundary movement. Of course, in terms of storage costs. Well, the second issue is planning failure. Here, the risks are disruption in logistics, including changes in transport and logistics routes, and also the refusals of carriers to transport hazardous waste due to fear of potential delays and increased costs. Moreover, we would like to highlight that if wastes are to be further transported through a state of transit, then the notification on transit should be updated and resent if the deadline has passed. At the same time, we would like to point out that the Basel Convention has already set a clear time period in the section on transit, and this time period for responding to a notification on transit is set as 60 days. And the main conclusion here is that the lack of clear time periods for response creates significant environmental and economic risks. The lack of clear time periods and, as a consequence, a lack of understanding when states of export will receive responses leads to negative environmental risks and undermines the sustainability of economic processes. And all these make it more difficult to fulfill the overarching aim of the Basel Convention and creates additional barriers for parties in the transboundary movement of hazardous waste. The relevance of transboundary movements is crucial for many states, especially island states, as we have already mentioned, that lack disposal technologies where waste is a secondary resource and thus contributes to saving the use of primary resources. So it is also relevant given the recent developments in the Basel Convention on plastic and electronic waste. And here on the slide schematically shows our proposal, which was revised. So let us remind you that our initial proposal included 30 days instead of 90 days, as it was based on our national experience and the possibility of taking this decision on a national level. Despite such a short time, like 30 days, it's really short, but some parties agreed to set it in the Basel Convention. However, a number of states expressed concern that 30 days is quite short and that they need more time for decision making. Also, some states noted that more work needs to be done on technical issues related to the adoption of this decision. Well, during the intersessional period, we received the proposal based on the informal consultations held during the parallel processes under the Basel Convention, also bilateral and multilateral meetings which were conducted on international platforms, and also the meeting which was organized by the Basel Convention Regional Center. And when working on our proposal, we took into account all the comments received during the last two meetings of the Conference of the Parties. Also, we paid close attention to the discussions that took place already in the intersessional period, especially with those states that experienced the greatest technical difficulties in implementing the PIC procedure, including the possible absence of an established procedure for the implementation of Basel Convention provisions on national level. And we should say that this helped us a lot, and we developed a mechanism that allows states of export to get a certain understanding of when state of import will respond, and at the same time states of import will have no restrictions, and its technical concerns and national circumstances will be taken into account, of course. when assessing the possibility of waste import and giving a final response within the time period which is convenient to the state of import. And as you can see, we have prepared a flexible mechanism and propose to set an initial period of 90 days, within which the state of import notifies the state of export of the receipt of notification and possible decision. Well, this decision presents three options. The first option is consent to the movement with or without condition. The second one is denial. And the third one is the most important one. And this is in interim response, where a time period is indicated within which the final decision will be given. For example, a state of import could indicate a time period as of 1 year or 2 years, and that is exactly the state of import itself to decide which time period works better for it to prepare a final decision. And such a mechanism allows not to have strict restrictions while assessing proposed transboundary movement of wastes. At the same time, the state of export will gain an understanding when it will get the response from the state of import, and this information allows the state of import to take measures related to ensuring the safe storage of waste, extending and concluding contracts, changing insurance obligations, and logistics. Also, the state of export can analyze whether it is reasonable to wait for a final decision from the first state of import, or it is worth sending notification to another state of import, taking into account the risks which have previously been mentioned. However, if there is no response from the state of import within an initial period of 90 days, then the export shall be considered as tacit refusal. In this case, we cannot just copy the mechanism which was established for transit of wastes, because there are many more risks which are even more significant than in the case of transit. And here we proceed from the precautionary principle. Well, this mechanism of tacit refusal works also in the case of a prolonged period, which is indicated by the state of import itself. Within the prolonged period, the state of import may reply with consent or denial, but if there is no response during the prolonged period set by the state of import, then we come to the understanding that the state of import denies the import of wastes. So in this case, also a tacit refusal mechanism works. And the proposed mechanism allows us to exclude those economic and environmental risks that states of export may have when planning to export wastes from its territory to another state that has waste disposal facilities. And at the same time, this mechanism allows us to work in parallel on capacity building with the parties that have problems with the implementation of the peak procedure. So, yes, and on this slide you can see Article 6, paragraph 2 as it appears in the Basel Convention today in gray color, as well as our revised proposal in green color. And as you can see, there is no time period set in the current version of the paragraph 2. And our proposal has a sufficiently flexible wording which accommodate the technical concerns and national circumstances of parties to the Basel Convention when making a final decision. And the clarification of this paragraph, we mean paragraph 2, of course, will lead to the solution of the above-mentioned risks. It will also make possible to fulfill the overarching aim of the Basel Convention, as it will lead to greater efficiency, predictability, and legal certainty for all participants of the process. So this is the exact proposal of the Russian Federation, which will be considered by the Conference of the Parties at its 17th meeting. And now we are coming to the end of the presentation. Well, now we are ready to answer your question. And perhaps if you come up with a new question after the meeting, you can contact us via email address, which is located in the top right corner of this slide. We would also like to pay your attention that the Secretariat circulated our revised proposal in the 6 UN languages on 25th October 2024, and parties may submit their comments to the Secretariat by 15 February 2025. So that's all. Thank you for your attention. Yes, and we are looking forward to your questions. Yes, so as we move on to the Q&A session, if you have comments, you can raise your hand. We will give you an option to turn on your microphone. And if you want, you can also write down your question in the chat. Well, whatever is convenient to you. Well, there are no questions for now, we can wait for several minutes so that you can write them down in the chat or to raise your hand. I believe this is the more convenient way how we can organize the Q&A session.
Hello, I've got a quick question. It's Hannah.
Yes, we can hear you well.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It was really helpful. Would you expect the state of export to specify the deadline date? So 90 days from the point of transmission, so that both the state of export and the state of import know when that 90 days time is up? I'm just thinking about some paperwork is still moved by post. to some parties, and therefore it may not be immediately clear when that 90 days runs out. So would you expect the state of export to put the date of when that 90 days deadline is?
Yes, thank you for your question. To be honest, we believe that the most appropriate way will be to consider the date on which the state of import receives the official notification from the state of export as a starting point, not the state of export. And this issue is also under consideration in both small intersessional working group on peak procedure and small intersessional working group on e-approaches to the notification documents. We believe that parties fully discuss the possibility of, for example, using e-platforms that would resolve this issue, and it would not be a problem if we could start the countdown from the receiving the official notification by the state of import. Well, we believe we answer your question. Thank you.
Yes, that's great. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes, dear colleagues, if there are no more questions, we believe that yes. And we believe that the Secretariat could wrap up our session, but we would also like to remind you that if you have new questions about our proposal, you can contact us via email, which is located in top right of this slide. So yes, yes, we have a hands, right? Sorry, 1 minute. Yes, Duke, your microphone is turned on right now. You can ask your question.
Yes, I had typed it in the Q&A, but maybe you didn't see it. But it was sort of a follow-on question to whether this process, is there an effort to digitize all of it? I think I heard you say something about digital communication, but is there any effort to digitize this across all countries who are participants so that the 90-day threshold can be greatly reduced to even something under 30 days? because I think that causes a big complication in the movement of feedstock for proper recycling. Is there a digitization process effort as part of your proposal or someone else's proposal? Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your question. Well, as we have already mentioned during our previous answer, nowadays there is a discussion of the electronic approaches to the PIC procedure, to the notification documents, in a small intersessional working group on PIC procedure, and also in small intersessional working group on electronic approaches. There are two groups which operate under the Basel Convention during the intersessional period. And the parties there discuss the opportunity of digitalizing this process. However, of course, it is possible to answer less than in 90 days, because it's only the state of import decision when to answer. It can answer in 30 days during an initial period, or to extend this period during the prolonged period after 90 days. And but during our discussion with states, we do not think that the reduction of this initial period to 30 days will be convenient, because many parties expressed that these 30 days is really short and we need to stick to 90 days. So, and maybe it can be also indicated during the digitalization of the PIC procedure. Thank you. We hope we answer your question. Well, dear colleagues, thank you for your attention and for your questions. It's really important for us. And also, as we have already mentioned, if you will have new questions to our proposal, you can contact us directly with this email address, which is located top right on the slide. And well, we believe that we can wrap up a session if there is no more questions on the floor. Yes, and thank you one more time to all of you, and thank you to the Secretariat for organizing this webinar. Well, we express deep gratitude to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Arta. I will just remind, participants are leaving now, but that we have two additional sessions, one at 1 o'clock this afternoon, CET, and one at 4 o'clock CET, should you wish to join and pose any questions at that moment. Thank you.